Hi, I'm Jennifer from Special Fork. So you've ordered pureed vegetable soups in restaurants before, but you probably didn't realize how easy they are to make at home. They seem kind of fancy, but they're actually very, very easy to make in your own kitchen. And the great thing about them is that you can do them with any sort of vegetable that's in season all throughout the year. It's the same technique. So for this recipe, we have started by heating up some extra virgin olive oil. We're going to add a little bit of chopped yellow onion. And just give that a stir. We'll cook it for about, over medium heat, for about 4 or 5 minutes or so, just until those vegetables soften up a little bit, those onions soften up a bit. All right, so we've been cooking our onions till they're softened, and next we're going to add some chopped up asparagus. And just give that a little stir as you're adding your chicken stock. And you just want to add enough chicken stock to cover the vegetables, barely, and yeah, just a little bit more than covered here. So you just want to have enough so that they're going to be able to cook and soften up into the soup. So we'll take the soup now, we're going to turn it up to high heat, and actually I'm going to add a little bit more stock here. And you can certainly use vegetable stock if you wanted to make a vegetarian version of the soup. I like to use chicken stock. I think it gives a little bit more flavor. So we're just going to let this come to a boil, turn it up to high heat. When it does come to a boil, we'll reduce it to a simmer, and we'll let it cook for about 15 or 20 minutes until the onions and the asparagus are completely tender before we puree it. So while this is cooking, while it's coming to a boil, we're going to make our garnish for the soup. So the soup itself is very healthy. There's no added fat besides the olive oil. So we're going to give a little extra body with and flavor for our garnish. So we'll start by taking some crème fraîche and adding some chopped herbs. So we have some chopped dill, some chopped tarragon, and chives. But you can use whatever fresh herbs you have in your house. It's just to give it a nice flavor on top of the soup that you'll mix into the soup later. And then we're going to take some orange zest. You can do orange zest or tangerine zest, whatever you happen to have. And also we'll give a little bit of some salt and some freshly ground pepper. And we'll just mix that up and make a nice garnish for the soup there. You can see the orange zest gives it a little bit of color. So now we're going to put that to the side, and we'll finish finish softening up our soup by bringing it to a boil. We'll reduce it to a simmer, and we'll let it cook for about 15 minutes or so. Okay, so our vegetables have been cooking for about 15 minutes. They're very soft at this point. They only have a few more minutes to cook. We're going to add some fresh chopped spinach, and we'll let it cook for about 3 or 4 minutes just to take the raw spinach taste out of it. And what the spinach does is it keeps a nice green, vibrant color after we puree the soup. So you end up with a nice green, fresh, spring-looking soup. So we'll let this cook for another 3 minutes or so, and then we'll turn it off the heat and let it cool for about 5 minutes or so before we puree it. Okay, so we've got our soup. We're letting it cool. We've let it cool for about 5 minutes so it's not completely hot when we go to puree it. And I have here an immersion blender, which is a great tool for making pureed soups. You just want to be careful that you stick it all the way under the liquid before you push the button and turn it on. And so this allows you to puree your soup and your vegetables all in one pot. But if you don't have an immersion blender, you can certainly transfer the soup carefully in batches, making sure that you've cooled it first to a traditional blender and blend it that way. So we'll let this go until it's nice and smooth. All right, our asparagus and onions are all pureed. Take out the blender, and we'll just season this up with a little bit of salt. Some kosher salt, and some freshly ground pepper, and then some fresh squeezed lemon juice just to perk up the flavor a bit. Give that a quick stir to incorporate. You can see how nice and bright green the soup is, and we'll just taste it to see how the salt level is and see if it needs any seasoning. That is really good. And now I just like to heat it back up again so it's super hot before we ladle it up and serve it. All right, so we've reheated our asparagus soup, and now I'm just going to ladle a little bit into the serving bowl. And garnish with a bit of our Citrus Herb Crème Fraîche. And for more recipes and ideas on your smartphone, visit specialfork.com.